My name is Riley Monroe, and I'm 23 years old. If you would have met me 2 years ago, you'd think I had the perfect little suburban life. 2 loving parents, a roof over my head, straight A's, and a sister who everyone swore was my twin soul. We were just a year apart. Her name is Lily, and she always knew how to shine in a way I never quite could. Where I was the quiet, bookish one, Lily was a star. Captain of the cheer squad, dating the quarterback, effortlessly charming. And my parents, they couldn't have been prouder of her. Sometimes I felt like I was just background noise in her spotlight. But I never hated her for it. I admired her. Maybe I even loved her more than I should have. And that's not me being dramatic. You'll understand by the end of this. Everything started to shift the year I graduated high school. Lily was already in college by then. Her dream school in California. My parents paid for all of it. Dorm, tuition, books, even a new car. I was proud of her. But I also couldn't help but notice the silence when it came to my plans. I had gotten into a great school on the East Coast. Nothing fancy, but still something. I remember the day the acceptance letter came. I placed it on the dinner table, heart pounding, waiting for their reaction. Mom just glanced at it. "That's nice, honey," she said, then turned back to her phone. Dad didn't even look up. I figured maybe they were tired. Or distracted. Maybe the excitement would come later. Kept telling myself that. But it never did. As graduation approached, I noticed how they avoided the topic of college altogether. Whenever I tried to bring it up, financial aid, loans, anything, Mom would say, "Let's wait and see," and Dad would mutter something about money being tight. I wanted to scream. Tight. After everything they gave Lily. I didn't ask for a car. I didn't ask for some big fancy campus apartment. I just wanted the chance. The same chance they gave her. And yet, nothing. Graduation day came. I walked across the stage, holding in tears. Not of joy, but of something else. Betrayal. Emptiness. My parents clapped politely. They even brought flowers. But I knew it was a performance. They weren't proud. They were just present. Later that evening, we had a small gathering at home. Balloons, cake, relatives buzzing around. Lily was home for the weekend. She hugged me and said, "You're gonna do amazing things, Riles." I wanted to believe her. God, I wanted to. But as the night faded and people left, I heard them talking. I was supposed to be asleep, but I was awake, curled on the staircase, listening. "She's not like Lily," Mom whispered. "She's not ready. That school is too far. Too expensive. Let her take a year," Dad added. "Maybe community college. Something local." I bit down so hard on my lip, I tasted blood. They weren't going to help me. They had decided. The next morning I packed a small bag, took some cash I had saved from tutoring jobs, and left a note. "I'm going. Don't wait up." I took the first bus east. I didn't even know where I was headed at first. Just away. I stayed with a friend from school for a while. Then got a job at a bookstore. It wasn't glamorous, but it was mine. Every dollar I earned went toward that tuition. I applied for every scholarship I could find. I started online classes. Slowly. 1 credit at a time. And Lily. She called now and then. But I never told her what I'd heard. I didn't want to make her feel guilty. It wasn't her fault. At least I didn't think it was. But then something strange happened. About 6 months later, Lily visited me in the city. She said she wanted to see my world. I took her to the bookstore, showed her the tiny studio I was renting with a shared bathroom down the hall. She was quiet the whole time. That night she cried. Said she didn't know it was this hard for me. Said she had something to confess. And that's when it all really started. She told me Mom and Dad never meant to pay for both of us. That they had been saving for one child all along. And that Shia had known. She knew they chose her. And she hadn't stopped them. She said she felt guilty. That she wanted to make it right. That she wanted to share some of her money with me. What was left of her college fund. I didn't know what to say. I didn't even know how to feel. I wanted to scream. I wanted to cry. I wanted to hug her and hate her all at once. But before I could say a word, my phone rang. It was Mom. She had found out where I was. And she was furious. Answered. And the first thing she said wasn't, "Are you okay?" or "We miss you." It was, "Did Lily give you any of the money? Because if she did, we're going to court." At that moment, something inside me cracked. That's when I knew. This wasn't about love. It never had been. It was about control. And from that day forward, I made a new promise to myself. I wasn't just going to survive. I was going to win. But the way I did it, yeah. They didn't see it coming. They never even imagined how far I'd go. And if you think this is where the story ends, trust me, we're just getting started. Because at my graduation, when I walked across the stage again years later, their faces went completely pale. And the reason? Well, you'll find out soon enough. But before I tell you that, can I ask you something? If you've ever felt overlooked, unwanted, or invisible in your own family, if you've ever wanted to rise without their approval, leave a comment, share your story. Because I promise you, you're not alone. And if you're still here listening, don't scroll away. This is just the beginning. After that phone call with Mom, Lily stayed the night at my place. She didn't say much, just curled up on the floor with a spare blanket while I lay awake on my tiny mattress, staring at the ceiling. Her confession kept replaying in my head. She knew. She knew the whole time. I tried to convince myself she was a victim too, caught up in expectations, pressured into staying silent. But that didn't stop the anger from simmering under my skin. I couldn't decide who I was more furious at, her or myself. The next morning, Lily left before I woke up. She left a note on the kitchen counter. "I'm sorry. I'll try to make it right." I didn't hear from her for weeks. But something had shifted in me. That night lit a fire I didn't know I had. No more waiting for someone to rescue me. No more hoping they'd change. I wasn't going to just make a life. I was going to build something none of them could take from me. Got serious. I doubled my hours at the bookstore. I picked up late-night shifts at a nearby diner. I took my laptop with me everywhere and studied during lunch breaks and on subways, writing essays while balancing trays of pancakes and refilling coffee for tips. And then something strange happened. About 3 months into that grind, I got an email. No subject line. No name. Just a message. "You're stronger than they ever gave you credit for. Keep going. I'm watching." My heart stuttered. I thought it might have been from Lily, but when I asked, she swore it wasn't her. She hadn't even known my new email. I brushed it off as maybe an old friend trying to lift my spirits. But then they kept coming. Every few weeks. Always anonymous. Always encouraging. But also personal. Too personal. Things no one should have known. "You looked beautiful last Tuesday in that blue sweater. Don't trust the manager at the diner. He's not as kind as he seems. You deserve to be chosen." Whoever it was watching me. But not in a threatening way. Felt strange. Protective almost. Like someone was in the shadows, quietly making sure I didn't fall. Still, I told no one. Not even Lily when we reconnected. I didn't want to sound paranoid, or worse, desperate for attention. A year went by. I made real progress. I transferred from online to in-person classes, got a partial scholarship, and eventually landed a better job as a research assistant for one of my professors. It paid better and it gave me purpose. I didn't go home. Not once. Mom sent messages every now and then. Passive-aggressive ones. "We're having dinner this Sunday. Your father would love to see you. Lily told us you're doing okay. Don't forget who raised you." Raised me. More like left me on my own the second I wasn't convenient. I didn't reply. I couldn't. Not without all the old pain spilling out again. But then everything came to a head last spring. I had finally earned enough credits to graduate. Not just with a degree but with honors. My professors nominated me for a special leadership award. 1 student per department. It was a big deal. And with it came a spotlight, a ceremony, and more than anything, a chance for closure. I sent my parents an invitation. Not because I wanted them there, but because I wanted them to see what I had built without them. The ceremony was scheduled in late May. I bought my own gown, wrote my own speech, and on the morning of the event, I looked in the mirror and saw someone new. Not Riley, the forgotten little sister. Riley, the survivor. I walked onto campus and saw the sea of caps and gowns, families holding balloons and flowers, cameras flashing. And then I saw them, standing near the back row, dressed up like they actually belonged there. Mom, Dad, and Lily. She smiled when she saw me, even waved. But Mom, she didn't smile. She looked tight, like someone clenching their jaw through a migraine. When they came up to me, the first thing she said was, "So, this is real?" I almost laughed. "No, Mom," I said. "I photoshopped the entire college." Dad said nothing. He looked me up and down like I was wearing something embarrassing. Lily hugged me. "You look amazing," she whispered. "I'm proud of you." I didn't hug her back. Not yet. The ceremony began. One by one, students were called up. Degrees handed out. Speeches given. And then my name. As I walked on stage, I looked out at the crowd. Their faces were blurry. Except theirs. Mom's lips were parted slightly. Dad leaned forward like he couldn't believe it. And Lily. Lily was crying. But not sad tears. It was pride. Maybe regret. Maybe both. I stood at the podium and took a breath. And that's when I did it. I pulled a small folder from my gown pocket. Inside were the real estate deeds. 3 properties. All in my name. One of them. My parents' old vacation cabin in Vermont. Yeah. The one they thought they still owned. I bought it from underneath them. Legally. Quietly. Through a loophole I found when I was working part-time with a real estate attorney. They had no idea. Until I held it up and said, "This is for the girl they left behind. The girl they said wasn't ready. Who they said wasn't worth investing in. This," I held the folder higher, "is proof she built her future anyway." Few claps. My professor looked stunned. And Mom. Her face went pale. Mean white. Dad turned to her, whispering something that looked a lot like, "Did you know about this?" And Lily. He just stared, mouth open. I left the stage and walked straight past them. Didn't look back. Until someone tapped my shoulder. It was Lily. She looked like she wanted to say something. But I spoke first. "You still think they loved us the same?" She didn't answer. She didn't have to. Because we both knew the truth. But just when I thought the story had ended, that same night I got another email. From the anonymous sender. Only this time there was an attachment. Photograph. Of me and Lily. Sleeping. In the same bed. From months ago. The subject line. "You're not done yet. And neither am I. If you were me, what would you do?" Subscribe if you like, because I think I just uncovered a part of this story even I didn't expect. But if you want to know what happened next, drop your thoughts in the comments. I really want to hear what you think. And if you've ever had to stand tall in front of people who tried to keep you small, let's talk. Because the truth, it's messier than I ever imagined. And this ride, we're just halfway up the hill. I must have stared at that email for a full hour. I kept blinking, hoping the picture would disappear. Hoping it was some weird coincidence. Hoping it wasn't real. But it was. The photo wasn't just of me and Lily sleeping. It was recent. I recognized the sheets. The way my phone was charging on the left side of the bed. The book I had fallen asleep reading. Still open next to me. Whoever took it had been inside my apartment. While we were asleep. My chest tightened. I locked the door every night. I know I did. I even had one of those cheap door jam bars I'd bought off Amazon after my neighbor got robbed. I live alone. No roommates. Just me. And yet, someone had been close enough to take that photo. Close. Intimate. Intentional. I reread the subject line. "You're not done yet. And neither am I." I tried to convince myself it was a prank. That maybe Lily took the photo and emailed it from a fake account to mess with me. Some stupid joke to lighten the mood after graduation. But when I called her, she didn't answer. And when I texted, "Was that you? Please tell me it was." She replied with just one word. "What?" I didn't respond. Instead, I shut off the lights, pulled the curtains, and sat in the dark for hours. Every creak in the hallway made me flinch. Every muffled voice made my skin crawl. I didn't sleep. The next morning, I did something I hadn't done in years. Called my dad. He picked up on the second ring. "Riley." I didn't even say hello. Just launched straight into it. "Who would want to follow me?" He went silent. "I'm serious. Did you or Mom hire someone? Try to keep tabs on me?" "No, of course not." "Riley, what are you talking about?" I told him everything, the emails, the photo, the messages. I left out the cabin reveal and the graduation speech. I didn't want him deflecting. He was quiet for a moment and then said something that chilled me. "There was someone like that when Lily was younger. Someone obsessed." "What do you mean obsessed?" "There was this boy in our neighborhood. Weird kid. He used to leave her notes. Drawings. One time we found a scrapbook in his locker at school. Full of pictures of Lily. Some even from inside our house. We moved right after. Changed schools. It was a mess. I couldn't breathe." "Why didn't you ever tell me?" "Because we didn't want to scare you. You were just a kid." And then, it stopped. Or we thought it did. The pieces started to click. What if it didn't stop? What if it wasn't Lily he was watching anymore? What if it was both of us? Or me? The more I thought about it, the more the emails made sense. The familiarity. The eerie kindness. The way they seemed to know my pain before I even processed it myself. I wanted answers. And I had one person left to ask. Lily finally texted me later that night. "Can we talk?" We met at her dorm. It was quiet. Everyone had gone home for summer. She looked different. Fragile. Like someone who had been carrying a truth too long. "Do you remember Jeremy Pace?" she asked. The name made my stomach turn. Jeremy was the quiet boy who used to live 3 houses down from us. He'd ride his bike up and down our street for hours. Never talked. Just stared. I remembered him because one day when I was 12, I found a photo under my pillow. Photo of me. Sleeping. I thought I'd dreamed it. But I hadn't. "That's who we think it is," Lily said. "He used to follow me. But I thought it ended after Dad filed that restraining order." That's when it hit me. Dad knew. All along. And he let me walk out into the world alone. Felt dizzy. Cold. But the thing is, that wasn't the worst part. Because the next day I got another email. No message this time. Just a subject line. "She lied." And an attachment. It was a recording. Of Lily. Sitting in her dorm room. Whispering into her phone. Saying, "She'll never know. She thinks we're victims. But we're not. We're the story." I sat frozen. Was she talking about me? Was this a setup? Was she the one behind the emails all along? I don't know what's worse. That someone is stalking us both. Or that Lily might be in on it. And yet, there's still a part of me that wants to protect her. Why? I don't even know anymore. But I do know one thing. The truth is deeper than I imagined. And now I'm not sure who I can trust. Not even her. Maybe not even myself. But if you're still here, still listening, can I ask something personal? Have you ever loved someone so much it blinded you? Like you couldn't see the signs, even when they were right in front of you? Leave a comment. Tell me what you would do. Because I don't know what the next move is. But something tells me, this is the part where everything changes. I didn't reply to Lily's messages after I heard that recording. Couldn't. I must have listened to it 20 times. Her voice was low, quiet, almost rehearsed. "She'll never know. She thinks we're victims. But we're not. We're the story." What did that even mean? Was she talking to someone? To herself? Was this part of something bigger? And why did it feel like I was the punchline to a joke I never signed up for? I sat alone in my apartment for hours, lights off, phone in hand. I kept switching between the recording and my contacts list, hovering over Lily's name. Part of me wanted to call her, scream, demand the truth. The other part, I wasn't sure I could handle what she might say. The next morning, I woke up to find a plain manila envelope slipped under my door. No stamp. No name. Inside were 3 things. A printed photo of Lily, sitting in the same diner I worked at months ago. She was looking at someone off camera, smiling like she knew them well. Copy of my birth certificate. And a small note in handwriting I didn't recognize. Ask her who your real mother is. My heart dropped into my stomach. I read it over and over again, hoping it would rearrange itself into something less horrifying. Ask her who your real mother is. That single sentence unzipped my entire world. I had always known I didn't look like Mom. People said it in passing all the time. You look more like your aunt, or maybe you got your dad's genes. But I never questioned it. Not really. Till now. I took the photo, the note, the birth certificate, and went straight to the only place I knew I could get answers. Lily's dorm. She opened the door, eyes puffy like she'd been crying. Her hair was up in a messy bun, hoodie half-zipped like she hadn't slept either. When she saw the envelope in my hand, she froze. I didn't wait for her to speak. Who's my real mom? Her eyes went wide. What? Don't lie to me, Lily. Someone's playing games and I'm tired of being the one left in the dark. Tell me, right now. Who is she? She swallowed hard, leaned against the doorframe. And then, without looking me in the eye, she said, I promised I'd never tell you. That was all I needed to hear. I pushed past her into the room. Start talking. She sat down on her bed and stared at the floor. Her fingers twisted the strings of her hoodie. Dad had an affair. Years ago. With a woman he worked with. You were the result. I felt like someone had punched the air out of my lungs. So Mom isn't my mom. She raised you. She loved you, in her way. No, she tolerated me. There's a difference. Lily didn't say anything. And what about this woman? My real mother. Where is she? She hesitated, then whispered, Gone. She died before you turned 2. Cancer. I stared at her, heart thudding against my ribs. So much of my life suddenly made sense, and none of it felt good. The favoritism, distance, the coldness from Mom. The way I always felt like a guest in my own home. They knew. All of them. And they let me believe I was just unlovable. I wanted to tell you, Lily said quietly. But they made me promise. They said it was for your own good. I laughed, bitter and sharp. For my good. Or theirs. No answer. I turned to leave. But just as I reached the door, she said something that stopped me cold. Riley, he's back. Turn. Who? She looked pale now. Jeremy. He never stopped watching. Not after the restraining order. Not after we moved. He followed us. We just didn't know it was you he was after. What do you mean me? Her voice dropped. Because you look like her. Your real mom. Exactly like her. He was obsessed with her too. I staggered backward like the floor had tilted. He's not after me, I whispered. He's obsessed with my mother. And through me, he's reliving her. Suddenly everything made sense. The emails, pictures, the notes, the photo of Lily in the diner. She wasn't the target. It was. And this wasn't just some twisted stalker story. It was a legacy. One passed down from my mother to me. But here's where it gets even darker. That night I went home and searched for records. Old newspapers, obituaries, anything. I found a grainy article from 23 years ago. Local secretary found dead after short battle with cancer. It was her. But in the comment section, hidden deep beneath layers of archived posts, was something that stopped my heart. A message from an anonymous user, posted just months after her death. She promised me she'd never leave. She lied. But I found her again. I always do. The username, Jampace87. He'd been watching me since I was a child. But why now? Why resurface after all these years? Unless someone had invited him back in. And I think I know who. Because the next morning Lily was gone. Vanished. Her phone off. Her dorm empty. No one had seen her. No one. Except the shadow caught in the corner of the security footage. A man in a gray hoodie. Waiting just down the hall. And something tells me, this story isn't about me anymore. Never was. It's about her. And the secret she's still keeping. If you've ever had someone disappear on you, without warning, without answers. If you've ever questioned whether you really knew them at all, tell me in the comments. What would you do if your sister vanished into the dark, right after revealing the biggest truth of your life? I don't have the ending yet, but I promise I'm going to find it. Even if it means digging up things we were never meant to see. I filed a missing person report the next morning. The officer at the front desk looked half asleep until I mentioned Lily's name. That's when his eyes focused. Monroe. You sure she's missing? She's an adult. Could have just left. She didn't take her phone, I said. Didn't leave a note. Her room was exactly how it was the day before. He nodded slowly and took down my statement, but I could tell he didn't really believe me. People don't go missing for no reason. Unless they were trying to. Or unless someone didn't want them to be found. I went back to her dorm later that afternoon. The door had been left slightly ajar. I stepped inside cautiously, feeling that same cold wave in my stomach I'd felt the night of my graduation speech, when everything started to shift. Her room looked untouched. Except her laptop was gone. So was her journal. Lily wrote in it every day. She was obsessive about documenting her life. If she took it with her, that meant she knew she wouldn't be back. If someone else took it, that meant something much worse. I found a tiny flash drive under her mattress. She must have hidden it in a rush. It was taped to the wooden slats with medical tape, and labeled only with a single word. For her. I shoved it into my coat pocket and left. Back at my place, I locked the door and drew the blinds. My hands were shaking as I plugged the drive into my laptop. There were 4 video files. No names, no dates. Clicked the first one. Lily's face filled the screen. She looked pale and steady. If you're seeing this, Riley, it means I couldn't tell you in person. Tried. I really did. But I got in too deep. I didn't know how to back out without putting you in danger too. Pause the video. My heart was racing. In danger from what? From who? Press play again. Jeremy isn't just some stalker. Not anymore. He's part of something bigger. I didn't realize it at first, but after I started digging I found things. Records. Emails. He's not acting alone. She hesitated. Followed. There's a group, Riley. I think it started with Mom and Dad. Or at least Dad. It's not just about you. Or me. It's about control. And secrets. And you were never supposed to know any of it. The video ended abruptly. The second one started automatically. Lily looked more frantic now, pacing in her dorm room. They're watching us. I thought it was just Jeremy, but no. I saw Dad last week. At a cafe near campus. He didn't see me, but he was meeting with someone. Woman. Blonde, tall, sharp suit. I think she's with him. Or above him. Followed them. They went to an office building. Suite 417. No sign on the door. But Riley. There's something wrong with all of this. The third video started glitching midway through. But I caught one line before it cut off. He doesn't just want you. He thinks you're her. He's convinced you're your mother reborn. And he's not going to stop until. Video error. The fourth video was just audio. A whisper. Lily's voice trembling. I think Dad knows I found out. If something happens to me. Don't trust him. Don't trust anyone who says they're trying to help. Not even. And then it stopped. Silence. I sat there staring at the screen, frozen. The apartment felt like it was shrinking around me. I had questions. So many questions, but no one left to answer them. Until I remembered the office building. Suite 417. I googled the address. It was just a few subway stops away. Downtown. An old financial building with private suites and law firms. I took a chance and went. The place looked ordinary enough. Marble floors, buzzing elevators, receptionist at the front desk. But when I reached the 4th floor, I noticed something strange. Suite 417 had no nameplate. No buzzer. Just a matte black door. I knocked once. No answer. I knocked again. And then I heard it. Voice behind me. "You're not supposed to be here." I spun around. It was the woman Lily described. Blonde. Sharp features. Expensive heels. She didn't look surprised to see me. "You're Riley," she said. "Aren't you?" I didn't answer. She smiled too calmly. "We've been waiting for you. Let me ask you something real quick. If your own blood lied to you your whole life, if your sister disappeared after uncovering a secret buried under layers of family shame, and a stranger told you they'd been waiting for you, would you walk through that door? Or would you run? Drop your thoughts below. I don't know what I'm walking into next. But if you're still here listening, stay with me, because whatever's behind that door might just destroy everything I thought I knew about who I am. I don't know what possessed me, but I followed her." The blonde woman, sharp, poised, completely unfazed by the tension hanging in the hallway, just turned without a word and walked into Suite 417 like she was expecting me to trail behind. And I did. The room was nothing like I imagined. No paperwork. No computers. No receptionist. Just a sleek glass table, a few chairs, and a single file folder placed neatly at the center, like the set of a corporate drama. She gestured for me to sit. I didn't. "Who are you?" I asked, my voice tighter than I wanted it to be. She smiled politely. "You can call me Meredith. That's all you need for now." I crossed my arms. "Where is my sister?" "She's being protected." "Protected? From what?" She tilted her head slightly, like I'd just asked a naive question. "From herself. From the people who are looking for you both." My jaw clenched. "And who might they be?" Meredith walked to the other side of the table, opened the file folder, and pulled out a photograph. She slid it toward me. It was an old photo, faded, curled at the edges, of a woman in her late 20s. Dark hair, gentle eyes, a slight tilt in her smile. My heart stopped. It was me. No, it looked like me. But I knew it wasn't. "This is Eleanor," Meredith said. "Your biological mother." I sank slowly into the chair across from her. "You already know she died of cancer. That much is true. What you don't know is that she worked with us." "With who?" She didn't answer. Instead, she pulled out another document. It looked like a birth certificate, but not mine. Eleanor's. And under occupation, it read, Psychological Research Division, Epsilon Corp. She was part of a long-term genetics and cognitive study, Meredith said. Funded by private interests. She volunteered when she was 24. She had exceptional emotional memory retention, rare cognitive empathy patterns. She was special. I shook my head. "You're saying my mother was part of some secret science experiment?" "Not quite. It was more of a behavioral study. Controlled environment. She lived among normal families, posed as a civilian, but everything, her relationships, choices, children were observed. That's when the nausea hit." "Children?" Meredith nodded. "You were the final stage. The one they needed to see through." I stood up. "You're insane." "No. But your father might be." My heart skipped. She continued. "After Eleanor passed, your father, who had been nothing more than a subject handler, went rogue. He broke protocol. Claimed you were his. That you weren't part of the study anymore. He raised you outside of our observation. And my sister. She was his insurance. Real child. Clean one. Someone to distract everyone else while you faded into the background." I sat back down slowly. My mind couldn't keep up. "You're saying they knew who I was my whole life? That they were watching me?" She tapped the table gently. "Yes. And now Jeremy is watching you too. But for different reasons." I swallowed hard. "What does he have to do with this?" Meredith finally looked rattled. Just a flicker, but it was there. Jeremy wasn't just obsessed with your mother. He was one of us, briefly. He was recruited as part of a social perception study in the early 2000s. But he grew unstable, fixated. He thought Eleanor had promised him something. Future. Life. When she passed, he began tracking you. Because I look like her. Yes. But it's more than that. He believes you are her. Reincarnated. Returned to him. I leaned forward. Why didn't anyone stop him? Meredith hesitated. We tried. But when your father left the project and took you with him, our access was cut off. Jeremy slipped through the cracks. And now? What? She locked eyes with me. Now he's not just following you. He's trying to replicate the experiment. What does that mean? Meredith finally opened a drawer in the table and placed one more thing in front of me. Another photo. This time of Lily. Bound to a chair. Eyes wide with terror. No, I whispered. He took her 2 days ago. From the dorm. She's alive, but for how long we don't know. He's trying to recreate the original family dynamic. He wants you. He's trying to live out a delusion where your mother never left. Tears burned at the corners of my eyes, but I didn't let them fall. I had no time for crying. Had to think. Had to move. Meredith slid me a small key. Storage unit. Address is on the tag. Everything we've documented. All the files, records, surveillance, it's in there. Use it. Understand who you are. Find her. Before he turns this delusion into a tragedy. I stood, my voice hoarse. Why help me now? She smiled, softly, almost maternally. Because you were never meant to be part of this. And because I was there, when you were born. She opened the door, and I walked out of suite 417 with nothing but a key and more questions than ever. But I knew one thing for sure. This wasn't just about family anymore. It was about survival. Lily's. Maybe even Jeremy's twisted grip on whatever he thought love was. But I have to ask you something. Not as a storyteller. As a sister. As a daughter. If you found out your entire life was part of someone else's plan, what would you do? Would you try to destroy it? Or take control of it? Leave a comment. 'Cause I'm going to that storage unit. And I don't know what I'll find there. But whatever it is, this story changes now. The key was cold in my hand. I don't remember the subway ride. Don't remember walking through the rows of rusted roll-up doors. All I remember is standing in front of unit #53B. Heart pounding, palms slick with sweat, the metal key between my fingers like it was made of lead. I slid it into the lock. It clicked with a sound that felt too final. Inside was silence. Dust. Stacks of boxes. Black binders. A rolling cart with old tech, VHS tapes, hard drives labeled DVDs. A banker's lamp on a folding table still plugged into the corner, its bulb flickering like it hadn't seen power in years. It was like walking into a forgotten archive of someone else's obsession. But this wasn't just about someone else anymore. This was mine. I sat down at the table and opened the first binder. Page after page of surveillance photos. Of me. From when I was a kid. In the yard. Riding my bike. Sitting on the porch next to Mom, well, her. Eleanor. It felt like looking at a ghost of a family I never really had. The next box held audio tapes. I found a battery-powered player and pressed play on one labeled Subject E Final Days. Eleanor's voice crackled through the static. Entry 142. He came by again. Said he had a new theory. That memories could be inherited. Not genetically but emotionally. Through trauma. Through repetition. He thinks our daughter might carry me forward. I stopped the tape. Or daughter. So he was my father. But what was this theory? Inherited memory. Was that even possible? Another file confirmed something Meredith hinted at. The project wasn't just a behavioral study. It was about emotional legacy. They believed that unresolved grief, if embedded deeply enough, could leave a psychological fingerprint strong enough to pass on, like trauma echoing through bloodlines. They were trying to replicate love. They thought that if Eleanor's emotional imprint could be preserved, in me, Jeremy might finally let her go. He was the test subject. I was the vessel. And Lily, she was the distraction, the stand-in, the control. I was shaking. I dug deeper into the boxes, pulling tape after tape, file after file. Then I found it. A folder marked Pace. Contingency. Inside was a single sheet of paper with Jeremy's psychiatric evaluation. Schizotypal traits. Paranoid ideation. Fixation on deceased subject, Eleanor Monroe. Increasing delusions of reincarnation and romantic obsession. But scrawled across the bottom in red pen, nearly tearing through the paper. If she ever returns, he will take her again. There was an address scribbled underneath. Cabin. One I knew. The same Vermont cabin I'd bought under their noses. They thought it was safe. So did I. Till now. Because I flipped the paper over and found a photo paperclipped to the back. The most recent one yet. Taken inside the cabin. Of Lily. Bound. Crying. Behind her on the wall, scrawled in something dark. Welcome home, Eleanor. I dropped the paper. It felt like the air had been pulled from the storage unit. I stood there for a long time. I don't know how long. But when I left, I took only what I needed. Photo. Folder. And the tape labeled Our Final Protocol. I haven't listened to that one yet. I'm saving it for when I get there. 'Cause I know what I have to do. I'm going back to the cabin. I'm going to bring Lily home. But not just that. I'm going to end this. Once and for all. But before I go, I need you to answer something for me. If someone you loved was being held hostage not just by a man but by an idea, an obsession built from grief and delusion, how far would you go to break them free? Because I'm not just walking into a room with a locked door. I'm walking into someone's fantasy. And I have to become someone I never wanted to be. Just long enough to end it. The road to Vermont felt longer than it ever had before. Each mile was like peeling back another layer of denial. Of safety. Of normal. By the time I reached the gravel path leading up to the cabin, dusk had swallowed the sky. The trees were thick and quiet, and the shadows stretched long like arms reaching for something they'd never get back. I parked halfway up the drive and walked the rest. Quietly. Carefully. The cabin looked exactly like it did when I signed the deed. Except now it felt wrong. The curtains were drawn. The lights were off. But something in the air told me I was being watched. I crept up the porch steps, careful not to let them creak, and tried the door. It was unlocked. Course it was. I stepped inside, heart pounding, every sense on high alert. The air smelled like pine needles and mildew. But underneath that, something metallic. Blood. The floor was clean, but the wall in the back room, exactly where the photo showed, still bore the words. Welcome home, Eleanor. It wasn't paint. And it hadn't dried. I moved slowly through the house, whispering Lily's name under my breath, afraid of what I'd find. Or who. I opened every closet, checked under the bed behind the curtains. Nothing. Until I reached the basement. The door was ajar. And from below, a soft humming. Not music. Voice. I gripped the railing and descended slowly. The stairs creaked, loud in the silence, but I couldn't stop. And then I saw her. Lily. Bound to a chair in the center of the room. Hands tied. Eyes red. Face pale. But alive. She gasped when she saw me. Riley, no, he's too late. Voice behind me. So you came back. Turned. Jeremy Pace stood in the doorway. Older now. But his eyes. Those eyes weren't aged. They were possessed. He looked at me the way someone might look at a miracle. Like I was something holy. Eleanor, he whispered. My skin crawled. I'm not her, I said. Yes, you are, he replied, stepping closer. You don't remember, but I do. Every moment. Every promise. You told me we'd be together again. I never told you anything, I said, stepping in front of Lily. I was a child. You were obsessed. He smiled. But look at you. The way you move. The way you speak. It's her. You're her. You always were. No, Jeremy. I'm not Eleanor. I'm her daughter. And I'm not here to play your fantasy. His smile twitched. You don't have to lie anymore. We're finally free of them. Of the project. Of the Watchers. This cabin, it's ours now. Just like before. I glanced behind him. The stairwell. Still open. If I could just buy a few seconds. You're right, I said slowly. His head tilted. What? I forced myself to soften my voice. You're right. Maybe I did come back. Maybe I didn't know who I was until now. But if we're going to start again, you have to let her go. He blinked, confused, but not angry. Let her go. She doesn't belong in this part of the story. You and we had something separate. Just us. Isn't that what you always wanted? He looked down, thoughtful, hesitant. Then he nodded. You always did understand me, he said. He turned toward Lily, started fumbling with the rope. Her eyes widened, begging me to act. And I did. I grabbed the old iron fire poker leaning by the wall and struck Jeremy in the back of the head. He went down with a sickening thud. I didn't wait to see if he was out cold. I ran to Lily, untied her, yanked her to her feet. We have to go. Now. We bolted up the stairs, through the kitchen, out the door and into the woods behind the cabin. No time to grab keys. No time to check if he was getting up. We just ran. Branches slapped my face. Rocks tore at my shoes. But I didn't care. All I knew was we had to put distance between us and that cabin. After what felt like miles, we collapsed behind an old hunting blind. Gasping. Trembling. Alive. Lily looked at me, her voice raw. How did you find me? I didn't, I said. You led me here. She shook her head, confused. But before I could explain, the phone in my pocket buzzed. It was an email. From the anonymous sender. Subject: You're almost free. But she's not the only one watching. And attached was another photo. Of Meredith. Standing outside the cabin. Watching us leave. I have to ask. What would you do if the person who helped you escape was never trying to save you at all? Who would you trust when the stalker, the family, even the rescuers all have something to hide? Tell me in the comments. Because Meredith said she was there when I was born. But the way she watched us run. That wasn't compassion. That was ownership. And something tells me. Jeremy was only the first chapter. We didn't stop running until we crossed state lines. Lily and I crashed at a roadside motel in upstate New York. Cheap, quiet, the kind of place nobody asks questions. She was asleep within minutes, curled under a scratchy blanket with one arm still bandaged from where the ropes had bitten into her skin. I sat in the room's tiny kitchenette, laptop open, the flash drive from Meredith's storage unit blinking at me like an eye that refused to close. I hadn't told Lily everything. Not about the email. Not about the photo. Not about Meredith watching us flee the cabin like it was exactly what she wanted. But I needed answers before I could confront more questions. So I opened the drive. The files were labeled in cold, sterile fashion. Esserism profiles. Protocol e-clone. Subject logs. Eleanor_Monroe. Project Rebirth is 3. Clicked on the last one. Inside was a single PDF and one video file. The PDF was a transcript. Interview style. Meredith's voice, calm and detached. This is the third attempt to trigger latent cognitive memory transfer through trauma exposure. Subject R has shown accelerated bonding behaviors, pattern mimicry, and emotional memory anchoring consistent with her mother's profile. Subject L continues to serve as a stabilizing control variable. She will be removed once transfer is complete. Removed. My stomach turned. They weren't studying me. They were rewriting me. Trying to reconstruct Eleanor, my mother, through me. Through carefully placed grief, loss, pressure. Everything that happened. Dad's silence, Mom's rejection, Lily's vanishing, even Jeremy. Had been orchestrated to press emotional buttons until I collapsed into someone else. Someone I was never meant to be. Played the video. The screen flickered, then stabilized. I was in the frame. 17 years old. Sitting on a couch in our old house. crying. Meredith sat across from me, a notebook in her lap, a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. Tell me again how it felt when she said that. I wiped my nose. Like I didn't exist. Just like your mother felt, Meredith said. Remember how she described that feeling? Invisible. Forgotten. I watched myself nod tearfully. I hadn't known who she was back then. They'd planted her in my life years ago. As a family friend, counselor, a passing presence that seemed harmless. Now I saw the truth. She wasn't trying to help me cope with my grief. She was trying to program it. I slammed the laptop shut. My pulse was pounding. Diagrams of a facility, not a lab, a nursery, with one final note. Subject R shows signs of readiness. Maternal coding likely. Phase 4 begins upon extraction and isolation. My blood ran cold. They didn't just want me to become Eleanor emotionally. They wanted me to reproduce her. Carry on the line. Not as myself, but as a vessel. And the phrase extraction and isolation didn't sound like freedom. Sounded like abduction. I had one option left. Burn it all down. Find Meredith. End this. Because if I didn't, someone else would wake up in a lab one day, confused and scared, just like I had been my entire life. And they wouldn't be as lucky as me. So I need to ask. Have you ever realized you were just a character in someone else's script? What would you do if you finally held the pen? Drop your thoughts below. 'Cause I'm not just running anymore. I'm writing my own ending. And Meredith, she's going to be in it. The world has a way of splitting open when you learn your own story was written by someone else. I thought I was chasing my past. But now I know my past was chasing me. Lily and I spent 2 more days in hiding. Barely slept. She was quiet, watchful, traumatized but calm. Something had hardened in her too. We were both changing. And there was no going back. And got the message. A burner phone slid under our motel room door while I was in the shower. No footsteps, no knock. Just a single line of text glowing on the screen. She's not dead. Come alone. It was followed by an address. Boston. Waterfront District. A storage warehouse I recognized from one of Meredith's files. I knew what they wanted. Trade. Information for loyalty. Me for her. But they underestimated something. They thought I still wanted to be saved. I didn't. I wanted the truth. Even if it shattered me. I left Lily with instructions. If I'm not back in 6 hours, get in the car and drive. Don't wait. Don't look back. She nodded without arguing. Maybe she knew, like I did, that whatever I found in Boston would be the final piece. The warehouse was dark, its windows blacked out. A single light flickered above a loading dock. I stepped inside, my footsteps echoing on the concrete. And there she was. Meredith, hands folded, composed, wearing the same expression she'd had in every memory of mine. Like she knew what I was going to say before I said it. You came, she said. I want the truth. You already know most of it. Then tell me the rest. I paused. Then motioned for me to follow her deeper into the building. We passed through a hallway lined with soundproof glass. Behind it, rooms. Each one held something different. Cut. Projector. Photos. Journals. Voice recordings. Memories. Reconstructed memories. They weren't mine. But they were meant to become mine. This, Meredith said, is what we built. A neural framework. Layered exposure. Emotional sequencing. You were never meant to be told. You were meant to feel your way into her identity. And Jeremy? Yes. He was an uncontrolled catalyst. Dangerous. But ultimately, useful. My fists clenched. You used me. We used everyone, Riley. Because Eleanor, your mother, was the key. She was the closest we ever came to empathy without delusion. Love without condition. And we couldn't let that die with her. I stopped walking. I saw her death certificate. You saw what we gave you. My heart dropped. What? She opened a final door. Inside. Room. White walls. Single chair. And in that chair, hooked to and four, eyes closed, breathing, alive, was Eleanor, my mother, older, but undeniably her. My knees nearly gave out. She's in stasis, Meredith said softly. We couldn't let her go. Not when she was the blueprint. I stared through the glass, barely able to speak. You faked her death. She agreed to it. Voluntarily. She was terminal. But before the illness took her, we offered her something else. A way to live beyond herself. My voice cracked. She let you do this. She believed in the work. In you. Tears blurred my vision. I didn't know if I was angry or broken or both. But why now? Why reveal her now? Meredith turned to me. Because she's waking up. And we need you to prepare her. Blinked. What? She won't remember everything. She won't know the experiment. We erased the parts that hurt her most. But you'll be her anchor. You'll help her return. No. Meredith's smile didn't falter. You already have. I stepped back. This isn't science. This is cruelty. It's preservation, she said coldly. We lost her once. We won't again. You used me. You used her. She chose this, she snapped. She loved you enough to let herself become something else. She sacrificed her identity so you could have one. Can you say you wouldn't do the same? I looked back at the glass. My mother's chest rose and fell. She looked peaceful. Me. And something inside me, something primal, cracked. I couldn't let them use her again. Or me. So I asked the only question that mattered now. What if I don't help you? Meredith looked at me, and for the first time, her voice wavered. Then we lose both of you. But here's what I didn't tell her. I recorded everything. Every word. Every confession. And if anything happens to Lily, me, that recording goes public. This story doesn't end in a sealed lab. It ends in truth. So tell me this. If you found out your mother was alive, but only because she erased herself to protect you, would you bring her back? Or finally let her go? Tell me in the comments. Because I'm standing outside her room now. And the door is open. The door clicks shut behind me. I was alone now. Just me and the woman I had spent my whole life trying to understand. Without even knowing she was still alive. She didn't move. Didn't speak. Just breathed, slow, steady, suspended between sleep and something deeper. This was the moment Meredith wanted. The reunion. The transfer. The completion of the cycle. Or whatever scientific poetry they used to describe what they'd done to us. I stepped closer. She looked peaceful. Too peaceful. As if everything had been stripped from her. Memories. Love. Me. Mom, I whispered. No response. I reached for her hand. It was warm. Fragile. And then her eyes fluttered. Just barely. But enough to make me freeze. A heartbeat passed. And then, she opened them. Slowly. Those same eyes I used to search for in family photos. The ones I saw in my own mirror. They locked onto mine. She didn't speak. She didn't need to. Her gaze filled with recognition. And with that came tears. Not hers. Because for the first time in my life, I saw the real woman behind the stories, the secrets, the lies. And she saw me. Meredith's voice crackled through the intercom. You see now. She remembers. I turned to the mirrored glass. No, I said. She doesn't remember you. She remembers me. Her image wavered on the screen. You can still help her, she said. Guide her back. Complete the imprint. No, I replied calmly. She didn't survive this to become a copy. And I didn't survive it to be a vessel. I pulled the recorder from my pocket and held it up to the camera. I have everything. Every word. Every tape. Every confession. Meredith went silent. You use one more person, I release it all. I turned back to my mother. I'm not going to let them use you again, I whispered. And I reached for the 4. The silence on the intercom turned into shouting. Alarms. Doors unlocking. A step. I yanked the tube out gently, wrapped my arm around her and whispered. I'm taking you home. And for the first time she smiled. We made it out. Barely. Lily met us at the rendezvous point just after sunrise. No questions. Just hugs, tears, and peace. We disappeared after that. Changed our names. Left the country. No more files. No more projects. No more Meredith. And most importantly, no more versions of who I was supposed to be. Just me. Really. The girl they tried to program. The woman who rewrote her own story. And if you've been here through all of this, every twist, every lie, every truth, then I need you to hear me now. Only the grown-ups should hit that subscribe button. Because the stories coming next, they're not just real. They're raw. They're personal. They're revenge at its most honest. And this story, it was just the beginning. So if you want more real betrayals, deeper confessions, twists that'll make your stomach drop, subscribe now. Because the next story might just be yours.